brought to you by Dale Carnegie of Orange County. This is the 411 on Leadership podcast, where we discuss common sense leadership practices with executives in Southern California to transform you into the leader people want to follow. This is the 411 on Leadership podcast. This is Steve Thomas. To my left is John Campbell. Here we're talking about why it's important for us as leaders to know our people and what does that do for our organizations as we move towards the second half of 2021. Again, I'm with John Campbell. John, how are you this morning?
I'm doing good. You are looking exceptionally good today, and there's a reason for that, isn't there?
There is, and you're looking exactly the same way because we have someone joining us on our podcast, which we'll make formal introductions of. But speaking of introductions, who are we brought by here, John?
Yeah, we want to give a big shout out to Sitch Radio and Brian, our producer, for making this happen. Every week, Brian brings it, and we want to thank him for that. If you've got any questions or ideas about putting a podcast together, make sure you reach out to Sitch Radio. Links are always in the show notes. And we also, as you're watching today, please make sure that you comment. We want to hear from you if you've got questions for Steve or myself or our guest, and like and subscribe and make sure that you hear what we're doing every Monday at this time, 10 to 10:30.
All right. Well, thanks so much. And again, we have the fortunate privilege to have with us. Well, before I make the introduction, actually, I'm going to do it a little bit differently.
You do it
I'm going to do a little differently. I'm actually going to share a little story about how I came across Dave and how we started a relationship with b.Spoke. And so I remember going into his office, or not office, but into his store. And I asked, hey, you know what? We're here to get a suit. And this is the first time that, I'm getting a custom-made suit excuse me. And so I go into the store, and one of the things that I love about what Dave did was he really asked questions.
Yeah.
He really asked questions. He asked, hey, you know what is it that you do? How, what do you like to do for fun? Just a series of questions before he presented me any sort of, suit pick or anything like that. So anyway, after that's done, he goes and he shares with me 3 swatches. And 3 swatches, I had in my mind already the swatches that I wanted or the colors that I wanted. But then he had picked out this one color that I was at first maybe a little iffy about. But then I said, hey, you know what? Let's go ahead and go for it. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, this is what I'm wearing today. And I absolutely love it. And he absolutely nailed it. So it's just been an awesome experience with Dave. And for this conversation, when we talk about knowing our people and knowledge, how that's being important in our leadership, we asked Dave Welch to come on. Dave Welch is the Chief Image Officer of b.Spoke. And Dave and John, excuse me, tell us a little bit more about Dave.
Yeah, let me give Dave an introduction here. Is he has been known and seen as the dresser of so many important and popular figures, a lot of athletes, a lot of hockey players, from Teemu Selanne to Eric Lindros, Paul Kariya. Dave has got his AA from fashion design merchandise from Orange Coast College before graduated from Cal State University of Long Beach. And he's also a member of the board of the Young Entrepreneurs Organization, as well as volunteering for the Orange County Board of JDRF. Dave is frequent guest at the USC Lloyd Greff Center and is named one of Orange County or OC Metro's annual list of business stars under 40. I mean, this guy is seen as the expert. And we want to welcome Dave Welch this morning. Thank you for joining us and being here with us.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. So I'm really, really excited. And it's been a pleasure to work with both of you.
Dave, the great thing I like about what you do is I think we do similar things in terms of how we service our clients. I mean, when it comes to, Dale Carnegie, we go ahead and we help to increase the confidence of our clients through our learning and development solutions. You also help to increase the confidence of clients as well by addressing their external and what they wear. And I think that is huge. And I think that is key. And I know for me, myself, I know every time I wear this suit, my confidence level goes a little bit higher. John, you as well, because I know you're wearing the same suit. So we're curious to hear from you, Dave. What's been your leadership journey so far, and how did that lead to the creation of b.Spoke?
So I started b.Spoke back in, well, it's gone through a couple developments. Back in 1995, I started my first company, and I just jumped into the deep end, kind of a one-man show, and did that for about 8 years.
Okay.
Brought on a partner, and we grew the business until the first financial collapse of 08, 09.
Okay.
Broke away from our partnership, kind of went different ways because of that stress. And I ended up starting this new company. And it's just been wonderful. But it gave me a chance to create a business that I always wanted to build. In the past, I kind of got stuck being a one-man, two-man show. And I really realized soon that if I wanted to build a business that was going to be bigger than me, I needed to build a team and trust people to do different aspects of the job that I was doing 100%, because it's so much easier sometimes to take that on yourself because you think, oh, I can get this done quicker, faster, and easier. But then you're just trapped and you're not growing and everything's on you. So through the creation of b.Spoke, we're probably now under that brand. We're about 8 years old.
Okay.
And we have a beautiful showroom in Costa Mesa and have a really nice team now.
Absolutely. And I can echo the things that Steve said. I didn't know what to expect when I came into the shop, and to get an understanding of who I am and what I like, and to go through that dialogue, and was just an amazing experience. I was used to going to the, name your store, and it's black, it's gray, it's blue. Those are my options. And to be able to sit and talk, and what do you like? What are the things that, impress you? What image are you looking for, before we even talked about anything?
Yeah.
And ended up going with a suit with a pattern that I would have never have chosen before, but because we got that experience, and I mean, just an amazing time. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
What drew you to this industry? Because we don't always think about it, or we kind of sometimes separate the way we dress and appear, especially as things have changed. We talked a little bit before the show about how the impact of people working remotely, but as a leader, to dress and look apart, there is some importance to that. What's kind of drew you into that?
Well, initially just getting into the industry, I did retail first.
Okay.
And then found the custom clothing company actually through a job posting.
Okay.
Worked for another company and then left again in 1995 to start my own business. And what really drew me to the business of custom clothing is, first of all, what's unique, what the experience that you guys kind of experienced yourself is very unique and to the custom clothing world, because what we are really doing is helping our clients build their own wardrobes that reflect who they are and reflect the personal brand that they want to present to the world, versus going into a brand store and then that designer has already said, here's what we think looks good. But that might not fit you, or the colors might not work best for you. So we're really more of a consultant that sits down with each client and really helps them chart this navigation, because a lot of men are unsure with clothing or what to buy or what looks best on them. And so we team up with them, ask them a series of questions to really kind of narrow down what is the right fit. Who are they seeing? What are their customers' environments that they're meeting them at? And then what do they want their clothes to say about them, especially when you're reaching out to new prospects or new appointments. And we want to support that, whether you're casual, especially nowadays in COVID. The casualization is actually more important now because you don't want to come off too casual. So I think there's some fine lines that clients are still struggling to find. But the thing that has really drawn me into this business and kept me here is the feeling of when I see a client put on a garment and they just stand a little bit taller, they are beaming, and they just kind of strut in that mirror. And I feel like I've positively affected them.
Yeah.
And I've had texts and phone calls from wives going, "Oh my gosh, my husband looks so great. And, I'm so excited for him to take me out, or we go to this charity function," and he gets tons of compliments. I've even had some wives say that he gets more compliments than she does. So she told me to tone it down a little bit with him. But that's what's really kept me into the industry. It was just that feeling that we're making a positive impact in the clients' lives.
Dave, I see so many parallels for, what you do with your clients to, us, as leaders, as we're leading teams, what we do to our teams when we empower them, when we, have those conversations with them, that in turn empowers them to take some risks that they probably would not have taken before, but because they feel empowered to do so, because they feel like they have been heard, because with your consultation with your clients, you're having those in-depth conversations and you're practicing listening. And it's not when they just come into the store, you're saying, okay, you got to do this, and this. It's that consultative nature. It's that having those conversations and helping your clients, as we all help our teams get to that point where they are feeling empowered and they are able to take risks. And so as we've been navigating, Dave, these past this past year, and even you had mentioned back in 2008, 2009, how you were affected, your business was affected there as well. What would you say is the most impactful lesson or lessons you've learned throughout these past downturns as it relates to you leading people and you influencing your clients and the conversations that you're having there?
Sure. Going back to 08, 09, and even with this past COVID challenge that we all had, one of the things that I think, and again, I'm not perfect, but one of the things that I think really got us through both of these situations is my own personal humbleness to be able to jump into the foxhole and really fight. I told my team we are going to have to claw, scratch, and fight for every sale. We need to reach out to every customer, whether they're ready to buy or not, and just ask them, how can we be of service? How can we get through this together? And I know in the early days of COVID, we had because not everybody was coming into the store, because we had to be distant. We had a little group chat. And if we sold one pair of shoes, or I had a client, because we still had some orders that were needing to be fulfilled before the lockdown happened.
Right,
and so we were making small deliveries at that time, very safe, and maybe just giving it to them as they drove by. But if they needed something and we made a sale, we cheered that on, and we cheered each other on. And somebody made a sale, we would, really, so it banded us together to fight through this. And we had a feeling of camaraderie. And I think that camaraderie has kind of stuck as we're slowly opening back up. And so I felt like that was one of the true kind of benefits.
Okay.
People talk about the family coming together during COVID.
Yeah.
We kind of had our company kind of come together and really root each other on.
That's awesome. Well, and as we talk about inclusive leadership and being knowledgeable, and that it covers multiple areas. One of it is, we know you're the expert, you're knowledgeable about fashion and what looks good. And also, are you knowledgeable about your staff and your team? Like, do you understand them? And you've had a chance to really dig deep and get to know your team, and they'll trust you as they see that you have that, both the business leadership knowledge and that you care about them and what's going on in their lives. There's a lot of us that have been impacted. And as you said, you're able to celebrate with them, because a lot of people were kind of depressed during this time, and to be able to have those wins. And it's important for leaders to celebrate wins when you get them. And what did that look like for your team? Did you hear a response when you were able to celebrate, where the team kind of come together, as you said, and get excited about stuff?
Oh yeah. And we had, for a few Mondays, we would have kind of a a Zoom meeting, and we were able to kind of let them know how we're doing. We tried to be as transparent as possible.
Sure.
Hey, we got this PPP money. We have this help coming in. We've had this sale. And, but we were also able to hear concerns that they had. And you could tell that people were scared and nervous. And I told them flat out, I was like, no one's going to fight harder than I am. And we're going to keep this together. And I think there was a rally call. And so I tried my best to do everything possible to either find money, find sales, reduce expenses. And for me, again, jumping in the deep end, I was there every minute of every day. And so I tried to lead by example. I wasn't just telling people that, hey, we're going to get through this. I needed them to see that I was the one that was going to step up, and I was the one. And also I showed emotion. You know, it was very stressful and challenging for myself.
Sure.
And my wife and I are kind of co-owners, and we felt extreme pressure because we also know that we had employees that had families and kids and bills and expenses. And we needed to keep this afloat to be able to, you know, help them provide for their lives. And so it was really extreme. And at times, there was times where I know I cried in front of a few of them because I just felt the pressure of everything going on. And I didn't even know if we were going to open up again or how bad this pandemic was going to be. And so I think that by showing emotion, and as a man, sometimes it's challenging, but it just hit me. And I think it really opened the eyes that they knew that I really cared. And that we would get through that. So I think, you know, having empathy as a leader, and being transparent at times, you know, it's not like I'm a crying mess all the time, but I want them to know that I'm human and I'm facing this challenge too. So,
and that's so key, Dave, that you mentioned that. And a couple of things there is just, you know, being an example for our team members to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to do whatever it takes to. It's not just, hey, I want you to do everything and I'm just kind of hanging back, but you also putting yourself in there as well. But one of the key things that stood out to me, even as, you know, you're talking about that, is just it's important for us, obviously, as leaders to know our people and to know also our clients. But then it's key that we allow our people to know us and to provide that level of transparency, right? You know, relationships, hey, we say that, you know, from a family perspective, it's a two-way street, right? And so I think sometimes, you know, we think that, you know, hey, it's good to know our team, but then, you know what, we have to be at a position where we have to allow them to know us.
Right.
And I think that when we provide that space where there is a mutual growth in that relationship, obviously the trust level is going to go up. The rapport is going to go up. And I think at that point, you know, we'll have had that environment where not only trust and rapport is important, but then our teams are more engaged. That, you know, they want to do more now that they're knowing where you're at and what you want to do and how, you know, you'll do whatever it takes to move the company forward. I think it would be motivating, I think, for me to see that and be like, okay, well, that means I have to do what I can and what I need to do in order to propel us, moving forward. I want to read one stat which kind of correlates a little bit to this, and this was by Gallup. Gallup did a report, and it reported on employee engagement. It says a highly engaged workforce increases profitability by 21%. So think of getting everybody on board, having those type of conversations where you're knowing your people, they're knowing you, and just seeing how that works for an organization that helps to get us through those tough times. Everybody, we're talking with Dave Welch. He is the Chief Image Officer of b.Spoke, located here in Southern California. If you have any comments, any questions that you'd like to pose, please go ahead and put it in the chat. If you're liking what you're hearing, you're finding it valuable, go ahead and give us a like. We definitely want to make sure that we are providing value for those that are listening. So, in knowing your people, Dave, question I have for you. Well, before we even get to that, because we've been talking this conversation about knowing our people and them knowing us. what's your view on inclusive leadership? I mean, we've kind of gave this broad overall definition on what that was, and we've talked about that a little bit offline. But as you look at your team and as you're looking at the people that you're communicating with, what's your view of inclusive leadership, and how does being knowledgeable fit into that?
I'm still on this journey of really trying to grow inclusive leadership. As I'm getting older, I'm realizing that, as I told you earlier, that I needed to build a team that was bigger than just me, and that I could trust. And like, for an example, I went away this last week for, a trip to Utah to watch my daughter play in a really big softball tournament. She won the whole thing, by the way.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
That's why my voice is kind of gone. But I had I felt that I could trust the team. And because of probably coming out of a solo entrepreneur type of experience and realizing that isn't the long-term path, that I needed to delegate key parts of our business to other people and understand that mistakes will be made, and we could let down somebody. But those are growth and learning opportunities for those people that I've given the reins to. So that was a big key for me, to just say, okay, it's okay to let go and to coach and mentor and train people. And I'm still learning to do that. Sometimes I drop into the frame of, I can just do that really quickly. And so I'm trying to coach myself to delegate and allow them. So I'm probably at a 90%, which I think is great, to be able to allow others to do. And I'm working on that last 10%. To be able to allow, others to do that last 10%. But what's really great about this whole experience of kind of offloading the key features of what I used to do all the time is to see the growth in all of them. To be able to see, many of you know Taylor, and to be able to see how far he's come from when he's joined me to now he's basically running all of the operations for our business. And I feel very confident and comfortable with that. And our sales team, Dan and Alyssa, for them to be able, I know anyone that gets in front of them, they're going to be taken care of fantastically. And my Taylor and Sadar. So it's been wonderful to be able to grow them. And that's been probably just as exciting as seeing my clients put that garment on and feeling them puff up, to be able to see the growth in our team.
That's amazing. That's awesome. It's building your team. A lot of times leaders forget that they need to build those around them. And it's often said that people don't leave jobs, they leave their bosses. But when you have a boss that respects you and trusts you and gives you the opportunity to live into that role, that means a lot. And to see them grow, and we've seen loyalty. We've seen that, as Steve mentioned, your team is going to produce at a high level, and there's real returns. These are real dollars and cents returns as you see your team members grow. What would you say, Dave, is there a balance as a leader when you're trying to learn and you're trying to build your expertise and knowledge? We know that oftentimes someone can fall into what we call the knowledge trap, right? You've worked with a lot of high profile athletes, hockey players. I can read about hockey. I can go watch hockey games, but none of those make me a hockey player. I've learned a lot. I know all the rules. At some point, I actually got to play hockey to be a hockey player. Where have you seen, is there a balance in that you've seen in leadership? As somebody's trying to learn to be a good leader, where's that balance between learning to be a leader and actually putting that into practice?
Well, the minute that you probably hire your first employee, you're immediately kind of quote unquote a leader. And so to be honest, my journey was, I kind of flailed at it. I didn't know exactly what to do. And I tried my best, and I would read different articles or in some cases, I was just busy doing the business
Yeah.
and trying to lead.
Right.
I think what really helped was there was a handful of organizations. As I mentioned, back when I was under 40, I was part of YEO, and they had a great organization. And it was business owners came together once a month. We sat down and had these forums and conversations about what's working, what's not working, and we could learn from each other. And that really helped my business and my own self-confidence of how to work and deal with different employee situations, or how do we grow the team?
Yeah.
And I'm still in those relationships today.
Mm.
So it's been over 10 years. And that's fantastic. And then coming into your organization, you know, I realized, again, it's taken me a while, but I realized that we have to continue learning. You know, one of the traps is you go to college and you have this intense learning environment, and then sometimes we just stop learning. We get into our job. Now we might be very hyper focused on that subject, right? So when I started learning how to do custom clothing, I hyper focused on that, how to measure what's the fabrics like and that type of thing. But it's not like I continued my other studies in other areas. And I felt like that's a trap a little bit. And so I've tried to, again, I'm not perfect, but I've tried to continue to invest in programs like Dale Carnegie, to invest in, you know, going to different seminars, just staying fresh. And maybe that's also having a humble attitude, knowing that I don't know everything. I'm not a perfect leader. I make mistakes. It's like being a parent. Sometimes I make mistakes. And so I have to take that and just say, hey, how can I be better? And I'm constantly trying to go, how can I be better each day? How can I be better? Even if it's a short little video or someone watching something like this, you know, hopefully there's some nuggets that people can take and implement.
We've been talking with, we do have a comment. Go ahead, John. Go ahead and read that comment. I apologize.
No, you're good. So we've got Dave Welch here, the Chief Image Officer. I love that title. That's fantastic. So Anthony Williams says, as a leader, we know that change is the only constant. How do you show your team that you are flexible and adaptable, and that you will evaluate any suggestions that are given to you about your business?
Yeah. You know, a great example is what we've gone through with COVID. And so initially, before COVID, we were probably, if you looked at our profit, we were probably 90% tailored clothing. Okay. Tailored meaning custom suits, custom sport coats, custom tuxedos, because we do a lot of wedding business, custom shirts, and like custom business casual wear. So it could be like just slacks and shirts. And we had almost all of our eggs in this one basket. Now, we did do some accessories, we did some jeans, but 90% of what was this. And when COVID hit, it kind of knocked us on our butt a little bit. And my top sales guy, Dan, wonderful guy, has been with me since the beginning. He was reaching out to his clients, and clients were telling him, I'm not wearing anything you've already made me. And after him kind of beating his head against the wall, making 50, 100 phone calls to check in on customers, we realized we needed to pivot. And I said, Dan, what do you think we need to do? And he goes, these guys are sitting at home or they're working remotely. You know, we need to invest in casual wear. And so luckily we had a little bit of savings, and we put a ton of money into casual wear. And we got casual shirts, short sleeve shirts, kind of ready to wear items, jeans. We went deeper with sneakers, all kinds of things that guys were wearing that weren't tailored garments. And so by listening to them and listening, you know, I talked to my team, what do you think? What should we do to offer? We even offered tailoring on guys because of COVID. Guys were either gaining or losing weight. And so we reached out to clients and say, hey, we can do alterations. We can, you know, and so it was one of those things of, hey guys, how can we band together to get through this? And again, I believe that I don't know everything. I need their viewpoints, kind of like boots on the ground. I need to hear from them. And I think if I try to be, and again, going back to my key word is being humble, knowing that I don't know everything about everything, and taking their information and their feedback to implement. And that helped us to get through it. And you know what? The COVID blessing is going to be that now we will continue to carry casual wear. And now we have the ability to handle all parts of our clients' wardrobes. And that's going to be the beautiful thing of COVID, which there's not much, positivity out of it, but that will be our business positive.
That's awesome.
And you mentioned that too, even in that, to kind of sum this up. And as we're wrapping up this podcast, is just really that posture of listening and, being humble. And it really goes back to fostering that environment, of what Google calls that psychological safety. And really making sure that, as we're leading our people, we're providing that space and for them to speak up when they need to, and then we're also listening to them. And at the end, I think that again, it's going to provide that environment for that trust and rapport moving forward. And so as we wrap up our podcast, one of Dale Carnegie's, I would say, lesser known human relation principles is arousing the other person an eager want, meaning what is it that we can do or to really find out what motivates that person that we're even connected to, that person that we're leading. And so what would you say, Dave, for those that are listening right now, what is that one practice that business leaders could adopt this week to know and understand their people, or have them know us as leaders?
I think one of the things that I've learned actually from Dale Carnegie has been to, and I, again, need to do a better job. We try to have more frequent lunches with our team to really get to know them and what's going on in their lives and what's motivating for them. So to really, that gives us a chance, because obviously you're having two-way conversations. We can share, or I can share what's going on either in our lives, or they know what either struggles or things that we're going through. And so those have been really key. And sometimes they're small little conversations. It might not be something as formal as, hey, we're going to go to this restaurant, just you and me. But sometimes we have those conversations even inter-office, and being able to just relate to them and understand maybe what they're going through. Everyone's going through something, and to be able to uncover that and also let them know that we care. And so I really have taken that from what we've learned in one of your group seminars. And again, we're trying to do it more often, but really just getting to know people.
Yeah.
It's funny. We were walking through the airport, my daughter and I, and she's like, isn't it crazy that everyone's going somewhere? Everyone has a story. Everybody has somebody they're going to go see. They're going on vacation. They're going home. And it just made me realize, same thing with my team, right? They have challenges, frustrations. They're going somewhere, they're financially have goals and dreams, and I need to be attuned to that.
Well, if you're listening, you've heard from the design expert. I mean, he's the man. How can people get in touch with you? They've got questions about, if you want to look good, guys, you need to come talk to Dave. So how do they get a hold of you?
Well, they can email me directly.
Okay.
It's just Dave at b.Spoke Style, and it's BSPOKE, the word style.com. Phone number is 714-884-3722. That's our showroom.
Okay.
And we also have a website, which is just bspokestyle.com. And there might be links, and also I'm on LinkedIn, so I'm easily you can track me down through LinkedIn as well. We'll put your profile
for your LinkedIn profile in the show notes. So if you're listening today, make sure you reach out to Dave. And
come by anytime. There's no obligation to stop into our store. I'm happy to kind of give you the tour, maybe make you one of our world famous Glen Plaid old fashions, and kind of tell you about what we do, and you can see if it's a good fit for your needs and wants.
Well, Dave, great to have you here on the podcast. I feel I need to end the podcast with a quote from Deion Sanders. He said, I think he said, if you look good, you feel good. If you feel good, you play good. And if you play good, they pay good.
That's so true.
With that being said, Dave, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks also for joining us here on the podcast. Please like and subscribe to this particular podcast. And again, remember, managers light a fire under people, but leaders light a fire in people. Have a great week.